the motive behind the bill actually has nothing to do with Hong Kong. It has nothing to do with democracy, nothing to do with human rights, and nothing to do with the freedoms. The whole thing has been distorted. I mean, let us just look at what Nancy Pelosi said on the 21st of November, just a week ago, at the bill enrollment ceremony. She said China's promise of full autonomy for Hong Kong has been utterly broken. Now, China did not promise Hong Kong full autonomy. China promised Hong Kong a high degree of autonomy, and the high degree of autonomy has been well expressed and stipulated in the Basic Law, which was passed after 5 years of very extensive consultation, 5 years of drafting in 1990. So on such an important point, on the point that Hong Kong only has a high degree of autonomy, not full autonomy, could actually be used by none other than Nancy Pelosi herself to make sure that the bill can be passed. There's a lot of distortion, there's a lot of misrepresentation in the whole process.
Donald Trump says he signed these bills out of respect for President Xi, China, and the people of Hong Kong, and he hopes that this can lead to long-term peace and prosperity in Hong Kong. Do you think it's right?
I think no one can understand that. And this is the prestige in the eyes of the Hong Kong people of the United States. And similarly in the eyes of people in this region. Because it's very clear that Hong Kong has a high degree of freedom. We protect our human rights. We even passed the Bill of Rights in the last year of British rule in 1997. We're much more democratic than the time when Hong Kong was ruled by the British. And if you look at other countries in the region, there are many countries in Asia that are not as democratic as we are, that do not protect the human rights, and they do not have a good record for the freedoms. Now, as far as freedom is concerned, if you read reports prepared by the Canadian Fraser Institute, which is a well-known institute on these matters, Hong Kong ranked last year number 3 in the league of various nations and jurisdictions in the world, while America, in terms of freedoms, ranked number 17. And then obviously we are much higher in our ranking than most, if not all, Asian countries. Why hasn't the Americans passed a similar bill to sanction these other countries? My answer is because these countries are not part of China. Hong Kong is part of China. So Hong Kong has become a soft target for them, and Hong Kong is a proxy for China.
This new law will ban U.S. exports to Hong Kong. The tear gas and rubber bullets. Actually, at some protest sites, me and my colleagues, we did have found some, shell casing of the tear gas made in USA, written all that. So, will that affect Hong Kong police's operation in the future?
In the past 6 months, if similar riots took place in any American, U.S. City, what would the U.S. police, National Guards, and the Army would have done? They would have fired live rounds, and there would be a lot more casualty than we had. Look at what happened to Los Angeles. The reason why we use a large number of tear gas is to control the crowd and to enlarge the space between our police and the rioters. In some cases, they are not rioters, they are protesters, so that there is minimum bodily contact, so that no one gets hurt. And that's the reason. If the Hong Kong police did not do that, if they followed the example of their American counterparts, they would have used live rounds on many of these occasions.
The Hong Kong police are still very restrained in their operations. But my question is, are we lack of tear gas or rubber bullet right now?
I don't think so. I'm sure we'll be able to find alternative supplies. They're just making a political point. It's all part of their political grandstanding.
Do you think this new law will help to de-escalate the violence in Hong Kong?
Of course not. The protesters the rioters, except those who have already been arrested, prosecuted, or even convicted, they'll feel emboldened. They'll feel emboldened by the move of the United States.
The approval of this new law comes at a very critical timing of the trade negotiations between the two countries. So what kind of signal is the U.S. sending to China?
Well, the first signal that it sends to me is that in this large and very substantial country called the United States, no one is in charge.
What do you mean by that?
Congress, the two houses of Congress, and between the Congress and the president, no one is in charge. They're all playing their own games. They are not working with each other, and therefore we got to where we are because of politicking.
But will this affect the trade talks between the two countries?
Well, it can't be conducive to a meaningful or amicable outcome of any talk about anything when a country such as the United States could resort to such underhanded tactics.
Some people in Hong Kong are accusing the U.S. of turning a blind eye to what is happening in Hong Kong. The Trump administration is only seeing what it wants to see. Is the new law an evidence of exactly that?
Well, one congressman came to Hong Kong and he went on record to say that he didn't see any violence on the streets. How could anyone say that he didn't see violence on the streets? A lot of people, innocent bystanders, innocent pedestrians, got wounded. A lot of vehicles, vans and taxis and private vehicles got vandalized, damaged. Similarly, shop owners and all these are violence. As I said, by passing this bill, they are sending a message, a wrong message, that will embolden these violent protesters and rioters.
In your opinion, do they really have no idea what's going on in Hong Kong, or are they just lying?
I suppose it's a combination of both. Some have their own political motives, their own axe to grind, and others just blindly follow because it's a fashionable subject. And many of the congressmen, I believe, who voted in the process have not been to Hong Kong. And I would simply suggest to them that they should read the basic law, which is available in English as well. It's freely available on the websites.